A story of a young man growing up in Raleigh, living in turbulent times in our country, in his community, and sometimes in his family. Yet this young man was full of hope for a better day. Getting an education and learning was paramount. He had been taught about our history in school, in church, and through the people in his family that he looked up to. He knew about the civil rights movement, the Vietnam War, and integration. His grandmother made sure he was a member of the NAACP and would be familiar with the Carolinian, in addition to the Raleigh Times, which he delivered for a short time in his neighborhood. In his family, church, community, he learned how to strive to overcome obstacles, to never give up. But he also learned concern for others, to take care of the least of these. So can you imagine the shock and dismay this young man felt when he learned that his country did not provide health care? A basic human need, a human right to all of its citizens, including the least of these? I'm sure you correctly surmised by now that the young man was me. And that shocked, dismayed person is still me. I couldn't understand then, and I don't understand now. But one thing I do understand now is greed.
Yes.
Corporate greed. There's no other explanation that explains how a country as rich as ours can be so neglectful of the needs of its members. None. Now, some say they stand for access to health care. They make it a key point on their political platform. But what does that really mean? It means everyone has permission or the ability to enter health care. I have access to an Aston Martin Vulcan. But with a price tag of $2.3 million, that access does me no good.
That's right.
That's the problem for us when those who advocate for access to health care only to say it because it rings nicely in the ear. It glows on paper, but that's all it does because it's fool's gold. What working class person can afford to pay $600 to $800 a month for basic health care and still have to pay a deductible for basic services? And for those who have their health care tied to their employers, they are trapped in a plantation-style economic system.
Yes, sir.
That's enslavement. How many people say, I will leave my job? They might be in a toxic situation. Maybe they have a dream to start a business, but they're afraid if I leave, I don't have health care for my family. If that's not slavery, guys, tell me what it is. We can do better. We should be disgusted when we see hospitals rejecting people and putting injured people on the street due to lack of health care. Where's the caring heart? How's that following the golden rule? And that's why I support single-payer health care, and I'm tired of the games. The politicians have health care. If they didn't, they would find out a way to take more of your money and get it. It's a human right. So let's support single-payer health care. Now, someone told me that we live on a rock floating in space. But you know what? It's our home. Now, last summer, we was in the throes of one of the hottest summer on record. And as you guys sweated through it, you can testify to that.
Yes.
Okay, so it would have been good if somebody had warned us that this was coming. Oh yeah, about that. Now the Green Party has been a champion for environmental issues for decades. The NCGP is an eco-socialist party. I'm an environmental justice defender. You want clean air and water in a home that's not constantly burning up. So let's all work toward that goal to ensure our children and grandchildren have a place to call home. Now, as Josh pointed out, I grew up, been involved with this for many, many years. And again, my grandmother was a big part of getting us involved in protesting against the PCBs and dumping in the poor neighborhoods. I was boycotting Exxon after the Valdez spill in the 1990s and briefly volunteered for Greenpeace. So I've always understood the need to stand up and take action in support of our planet Earth. Now, it seems unnecessary for me to state that, Yet it seems that some people and corporations think we have a spare planet in the trunk, like a spare tire. Well, there is Mars. We probably could get a few thousand there, which eventually would turn to 1 million over 100 years. And guess what? They would have to live in a way that conserves their environment to survive. Not needlessly, disrespectfully burning through oceans of fossil fuels and picking out on meat in massive quantities. Is there another planet in the solar system for us? Not one. Not a chance. Yeah, I'm a sci-fi geek, so I know about Bernard Spears. We can build some of those. Like in the movie Inception, Interstellar. We can put 10 to 20,000 humans in one of those. But it would take decades to build it. And billions of dollars. And guess what? They would have to live in a manner that conserves their environment just to survive. Isn't it easier to work together to save the planet that we already have?
All right, yes, sir.
We need to stop fossil fuel drilling on our public lands and waters. Stop federal approval of fossil fuel projects and declare a climate emergency to halt oil exports and investments in fossil fuel projects abroad and lead a just transition to clean community energy. Now here's another point. Let me check my watch. Okay. When we're talking about some of these difficult things to discuss, and speaking truth is necessary if we want a clean, sustainable environment, we got to limit the methane emissions from livestock. And, we're not talking about, Mr. O'Leary's cow and every, farmer that owns a cow or some chickens, okay? But we have to reduce the problem that these confined feedlot operations, these great big operations, operate in the U.S. and Latin America, and probably some other place that we don't know about. But if we're going to save our planet, as Josh said, 40 years, okay, that's something that we have to start limiting right now. And that's something that can help us right now. Because we cannot continue to burn fossil fuels, past the limit, which we've already went past, as Josh said. So I'm not going to go over all of those numbers. It is a difficult conversation. But like Jessica Anderson said, sometimes you got to have those difficult conversations, okay? If what you want is worth having those difficult conversations. If you want to save your marriage, sometimes you got to have difficult conversations. Even with your friends, sometimes you got to have difficult conversations. If it's important enough to sustain a relationship, then it's important enough to have those difficult conversations. Now, last year I was attending the workers' rally in downtown Raleigh. And some of y'all may have been there. Someone drove by a pickup truck and yelled out, "Understand economics." In other words, what he was saying and shouting at us, he didn't get out of his truck to have a conversation with us. Okay, we cannot pay workers a decent, respectable, livable wage because of the economics of this country doesn't allow that. Custodians don't deserve that. Bus drivers don't deserve it. Warehouse workers don't deserve it. Food service industry workers don't deserve it. The workers don't deserve it. You don't deserve it. Only the upper class deserves it. This sounds a lot like the antebellum South. The rich planters own the plantations. They own the workers. The workers get the scraps, and they get beatings when they ask for more. How dare you workers ask for more? How dare you ask for respect as a person? Are you really even a person? I think and believe you are. And that's why I support the workers. And I support a livable wage of at least $25 an hour. And that's just a starting point. Yes. At that same rally, a woman who works as a custodian at Chapel Hill told me they got a raise of 91 cents an hour. 91 cents. Let that sink in. Who can live in Chapel Hill on a salary of $16.91? Obviously, she has to work 2 jobs and take care of her family. This is suppression of the workers. Now, most of my opponents support increasing a minimum wage bit by bit. They approve of a 91-cent raise and call it progress. These are the progressives. What's progression is their political careers and the portfolios of the upper class who don't pay their fair share of taxes in the first place. But that's a different story. The problem is we do understand economics. We understand our worth as workers. We can't be bought by 91 cents and promise of progress. We aren't wishing on a star or looking for a pot of gold at the end of the rainbow. That's why I support workers getting paid what is right, just, and fair. A vote for me is striking a blow at corporate greed and those who have sacrificed workers in the temple of capitalist God, greed. This shame. Shame, shame, shame. 91 cents. I proudly advocate for a living wage of at least $25 an hour. Now guys, when it comes to equal rights, my God, we're still talking about this. When it comes to equal rights, you know, it's so easy that I could write this when I'm drunk and it still be straight. Nah, just kidding about the drunk part. I haven't started drinking yet. But some people will say to me, if you think we can ever get equal rights in this country, you must be drunk or high. Give me some of what you're smoking, dude. I'm sad and depressed that we still have to address this. It's 2024. If you have a daughter, you can look her in the face and say, don't worry, sweetie. In 70 years, you will get equal pay with men. Think about that. That'll be 2093 if you're doing the math. Now, many claim progress has been made, that things don't change overnight. They say it's better than it was in the 1950s. Hello? That was over 70 years ago. Let that sink in. And listen, fam, when it comes to racial inequalities, I can give you oodles of data about that. We can look at life expectancy comparisons by race. We can analyze the discrepancy in home ownership by race. We can rationalize incarceration ratios by race. We can contemplate salary comparisons by race and gender. We can investigate whose neighborhoods get chemicals and waste dumped on them. We can confirm that there are still laws that clearly are targeted towards certain races, such as the war on drugs. We can dig up a mountain-sized evidence of data, observations, testimonials, books, videos, and dead bodies to demonstrate and prove that this is a current and historically racist country. Even though some in Congress, who have been there for over 40 years, say that it is not a racist country because they've been living on the gravy train. We can clearly witness the current political situation in our country and find a slew of anti-LGBTQ plus legislation passed in the past few years on a state and federal level. I have heard some disgustingly stupid comments come out the mouths of representatives in the state house and the U.S. House. Someone said on the U.S. House of Representatives floor, I don't want a dude in the military with a gun who's confused if he's a guy or a girl. That's what the gentleman from Texas said when he was on the House floor during a debate. Seriously, you can't make this stuff up. As if a transgender person is somehow so unstable they can't be trusted with a weapon in the military. Let's ponder this for a moment. When it comes to guns and transgender people, are they the aggressors or the victims of cruel, wanton violence? Who are the unsettled individuals when it comes to guns? Perhaps the gentleman from Texas should rise for the purpose of explaining this. The racist, sexist, anti-homosexual history of our country is well documented and seared into the nation's soul. From the mass killing of indigenous people, to chattel slavery, to after Reconstruction, to black codes and disenfranchisement, to Jim Crow and segregation, the women's fight for equality, and the suffrage movement. Side note, y'all know that North Carolina did not vote to ratify the 19th Amendment, right? To give women the right to vote. Okay. The list goes on and on. So that's why I'm running for office. And this is why I'm asking you to support me. We need to make some noise and get in good, necessary trouble.
Yes.
This is a quote from John Lewis, who got his skull cracked while marching in 1965, helping to secure voting rights for black citizens. I'm going to the U.S. House of Representatives to bring good, necessary trouble.
Yes.
I haven't had my skull cracked. I haven't had electroshock therapy to rid me of unnatural affections. I have not been arrested for exercising my right to vote. As a black person growing up in Raleigh, I have experienced racism and deeply understand the searing pain it causes. To know that trying your best will never cause some to see you as equal. Now that is futile. Because some choose to believe lies and injustice over truth and justice. Some want to go with the flow and not get too radical. Let's all stay in our place, some will say. But I can't do that. I expect and know some will oppose getting in good trouble. They will oppose equal rights because they think it's negative for them. So they cling to what they see as power, but it's not real power, and it will not last. So I ask you to join me in this righteous endeavor.
Yes. Yes.